Well, hello, everybody. How have you all been? As you know, I've been, or in case you didn't notice, I haven't posted in like a month. I've been gone for a while. I've just come back yesterday from my month-long journey, traveling and travails, basically on one side of the continent to the other. And I really wanted to do a video. I would do like a candle burning schedule for what I'm burning next month, but I'm debating whether to go to Bath and Body Works semi-annual sale, which is happening right now and I haven't been yet. Yeah, so I'm gonna hold off on doing that because I'm not sure if I'm gonna go. Alrighty, so let's just do kind of a catch up. I'll give you a little bit of story time, whatever, about my trip. Not going into huge amounts of detail, but let you know what happened, how it was basically. I have been posting some things on Facebook, obviously on YouTube, not much. And if we have time, I still have plenty of questions in the Q&A bowl, so we'll see how we are for timing. The first stop for me was Tampa, Florida. As you probably know, I was kind of assisting with the Utah director, my friend Franz, in preparation of our contestant, Sam, who was Mr. Utah. So that first part of the first week of that trip was that competition, which was happening at the Tampa Airport Marriott. And interesting, we knew it was going to be an interesting experience. This is the director's first time directing this competition, Man of the World USA, who goes to Man of the World, international competition. And then they also had another division for Mr. Universal USA, who goes to a new competition, Mr. Universal. So, and I'd helped a couple of the Hawaii guys in each of those shows, and then of course Mr. Utah. So as any pageant experience, I mean, there's always ups and downs and whatever. I did a video, there is a video if you haven't seen it, Man of the World USA Part 1. Maybe I'll just get rid of that Part 1 thing because I never did a Part 2. I did do some footage, but not that much. And as happens sometimes when you get very close to the event and you're kind of running around and getting really busy, sometimes you're not, your filming stuff is maybe a little bit of an afterthought. And I just didn't get too much else filmed. And I thought I would just leave it at there. Like, Part 1 was cool. You kind of saw the preparations and that was cool. So that happened, and like with any pageant, it's really great. One of the great things about it is that you guaranteed, no matter the results or the event or whatever, you will definitely meet people. You'll make new friends, and for sure we had that experience. It was really great meeting all the other guys and some of the other directors, and it was great. I have a lot more friends, and they're really cool guys. We had a wonderful time. And yeah, Utah did not win Man of the World USA, which is a whole other story that I don't even have all the details of yet. Still awaiting official feedback, etc. But yeah, the guy that won is wonderful. From Indiana, Martin. Anyway, then from there, oh, and let me tell you that what was cool about this though was I've never been at a hotel like this. The Tampa Marriott Airport Hotel is literally in the airport. It is in the airport, connected to it, attached to it, whatever. And so you can come off from baggage claim and pick up your baggage, walk through the little area with shops and restaurants, and down this little very wide little hallway thing, and you are literally at the hotel in the lobby. So it was kind of convenient and nice to sort of be connected to like a Chick-fil-A, which we don't have here, and I love that they had it right there. And PF Chang was nice. So kind of a convenient thing, sort of cool. Getting out of there when it was over, I just had some problems this time. I wasn't thinking, and I booked myself I was going from Tampa to Albuquerque to visit my cousin and her husband, who are living there now, and I had not been to their house there yet. So for a couple weeks to hang out with them. And I wasn't thinking when I booked the ticket, and I booked it through Dallas, and I should know better. Like, at this point in my life, don't, if you can avoid it, don't go through Dallas in the summertime, because they just have so many bad storms and electrical storms and tornadoes and things like that, disturbances coming through so often. And it just disrupts like all the connections and flights for days. And that happened. Like, I couldn't get out of Tampa when I was supposed to, because it got delayed, and then boom, canceled to the next day. And so I went back to the Marriott and was able to get a room there to stay overnight again. And then I left the next morning, and then we couldn't land in Dallas because of the disturbances. We circled around, and they finally said we were diverting to Austin to refuel. And I thought, well, it's a little creepy when you hear that kind of an announcement and you go, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, let's do that. Let's go to Austin. So we went to Austin, then we went to Dallas, and of course that flight everything was chaotic. It was very chaotic. I even got sent to the wrong place by agents, and it was very chaotic. I did eventually get it worked out, and got on a flight later in the day to Albuquerque, but it took some doing. So then I'm in Albuquerque. I've been through New Mexico, but it's been a long time since I was a little kid. And visiting my cousin and her husband, and they are in between Albuquerque and Santa Fe, in a Sandia area. And wow, that was beautiful. I really loved the landscape in New Mexico more than I was thinking I was going to. It's so different from here. It's very, very beautiful and very sort of stark. The rocks, the mountains, the very hardy sort of vegetation that's there. And I couldn't help, this is just as a result of being a person who watched so many science fiction and horror movies, whatever, from the 50s and 60s growing up. So many of them were filmed out there in that kind of environment that I just always driving around, felt like the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, like she was going to be walking along by the electrical wires, or you were going to see, the giant leeches or the flying saucers, crash landing in front of me. It really gave me that feeling the whole time I was there. Like, and it actually kind of creeped me out a little bit. My cousin's house, oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful house. It's gigantic, huge. And I don't know how they take care of it. And it has kind of like a mother-in-law suite, at the end where I stayed. So nice. But I would just get a little bit creeped out at night sometimes, because there's nothing around you. Like, there are other houses in this, it's a development sort of, but it's also a nature reserve. So it's very, very natural, looking, and the houses are like miles apart from each other. I mean, your lots are like acres and acres and acres and acres, and like you can see the next house. Sometimes you can't see the next house over, and sometimes, depending on, like, they're kind of up on a hill, so you could look down and you could see the next house, but it was way, 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 way down there. That was really cool, but I would creep myself out, because they talked about how there are coyotes around there, and there are deer that eat their flowers kind of right outside my window. And yeah, and at night it was so dark, because there's no city, light, anything like that around, that I did actually kind of mentally freak myself out, because I would hear something, I would hear noises once in a while, and I just, like, I could look at that window and almost imagine, like, the little alien people, coming, looking up over the windowsill, like, I kind of actually freaked myself out. And Yeah, I loved the architecture, all the Pueblo style buildings. Really love the architecture and the landscape in New Mexico. We ran around several different places, Madrid and Taos, of course, Santa Fe and Cuba. And yeah, it was cool. I had a really nice time. And I didn't even post a lot on Facebook about that. I didn't do any YouTube stuff about it because my cousin and her husband are kind of more private people and not so much social media people a lot in terms of posting their pictures or what they're doing or where they're going. So I just kind of respected that. I mean, we didn't talk about it or anything, but I just kind of respected that and didn't really post much about with them, pictures of them and that sort of thing. I also caught up with a friend of mine, Tanya Wilson Condello, and her family, Miss USA of 1972, who was originally Miss Hawaii, first Miss USA pageant I ever saw. So we've become friends through the years, and they have a house in New Mexico that they stay at part of the year, and they were there, and we had lunch with them at the clubhouse and yada yada. Super nice catching up with them. So New Mexico was a really nice, relaxing trip. Then from there, that was a couple weeks, and then I went back to Tampa, not Tampa, back to Orlando, Florida. That flight was okay. Can you believe I got an airline ticket from Albuquerque to Orlando, Florida for $102? It's on Frontier Airways. It's kind of this new thing that I have a lot of experience now on this trip, which is basic economy as opposed to normal economy. A lot of the airlines now, I guess, are doing what's called basic economy. So you cannot choose your seat, which I'm okay with. Yeah. And you cannot take a carry-on. You can take a personal item, but you can't take a carry-on piece of baggage. So you have to do like your one suitcase that, of course, you have to pay for, but what I do, like my one suitcase to check in and just personal item like a smaller backpack or bag or something. So I did that, and this was one of those fares, but it was $102. I mean, oh my gosh, and it went fine. I didn't have any problems. It was actually, I think, the only leg of any of this journey that didn't have issues with it was that Frontier Airways. Although I didn't like their plane, very clean plane, kind of flimsy seats, and they have the little tiniest tray table. You know, your fold down tray table was like literally like this big. And I am a person that I can't really sleep very well leaning back in a seat. I'm one of those people that like puts the tray down, folds your heads like that, or, you know, up against the thing and can sleep like that. I can sleep like that. But you couldn't do that on these little tiny things. They're too small. So that was sort of annoying. I'll have to keep that in mind because I usually am a cheap ticket person. Like I'll kind of look for a cheap deal. But I got to keep that in mind about Frontier. Like if I'm going to do an overnight, not to do that airline because that's not going to work. Anyway, so then I went back to Orlando, this time to serve as a judge for the Miss US International. Officially, it's called Miss US International, which chooses the contestant who will be Miss USA at the Miss International pageant in Japan. So it's a national competition, and she also has the Miss North America pageants attached to that, which are different age divisions, and they don't go on to an international competition like Miss US International does. So I met a couple of new people judging. I did know one of the people, Abby, hello, and met some new folks, which is, again, like I said, with the pageants, always fun. You're always going to meet new people and get new friends, and loved the group of judges I was working with. And that's a pretty intense 3 days because they pack all of it into like 3 days. So you have the Miss USI prelims one night, the day I got in. And again, my flight did get delayed. I should say that coming into Orlando, but not so much that it was going to be a conflict with being late for the show or something, but I did come in later than I was supposed to. Flying these days, I tell you. So not pleasant. Anyway, so we had the prelims the first night. The next night we had interviews that started at 7 a.m. And we had tons of interviews for a couple different divisions. And then we had the finals. I think it was, if I can remember, the elite, which is the over 50 group, and then something else, the preteens or whatever. So we did like 2 divisions in that one day, completely done. The next day we had interviews that started at 6 a.m. For the love of God. I mean, oh my gosh, doing interviews at 6 a.m. And I felt, not just for us, obviously with the judges, but at least we're just asking questions. I mean, the poor contestants having to be hair and makeup ready at 6 freaking a.m. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so we had interviews for Miss North America and Miss US International, which were both pretty sizable number of contestants, and the final shows on those that day. So, and judging is always a lot of fun. I enjoy it. There are some systems where judges are specifically not supposed to talk amongst themselves. They're just going what they think, and you do not discuss it with anyone. And then there are systems where they don't mind if you, as judges, or encourage judges to, sit there in the closed room and go, okay, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? To talk about it a little bit. And this director does encourage people to talk about it some. So that's always interesting because it's sort of, what do you call it? Negotiating or something. You're thinking like, well, I'm kind of thinking this. And another person is like, well, no, I don't like this. And I didn't like that. And, okay, well, I don't know, this is maybe acceptable. This is not an acceptable result to me, or, and you kind of hash it out a little bit. So you don't work everything out all, but sometimes you get everybody on the same page and you're all like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this, vote this way. And then other times it's not. And this was one of those things where we didn't like 100% have everything worked out, but we did some discussion and kind of knew what ideas floating around. So, and of course, some people are happy and some people aren't at the end of that. And it happens. Overall, I was very happy with all the divisions. Overall, really, really happy. And Miss US International being, in my mind, super important because they go on to represent the United States. I was overall very happy with that. I might have had final placements ranked slightly differently, but that's often the case, like but overall, yeah, I'm very happy. I went, then coming home, oh, Lord love a duck. So I'm in Orlando at like 5 in the morning. My flight is at 8:30, but I thought I'm gonna go really early because I don't know how difficult, I don't exactly know how long it's going to take to go to the airport from here because it's quite a ways, and I don't know. There was a lot of chaos with the hotel. I had planned to check out of the hotel that we were in for the pageant and where the pageant was being held, and checked into a different hotel because I was staying one extra day because I wanted to go to the Robert Graham outlet store at the outlet mall. And which he makes crazy, beautiful, artistic shirts that are like really expensive. But if you go to the outlet, they're still really expensive, but they're a lot less than they would be getting them online or in the regular retail store. So whenever I'm in either Las Vegas or Orlando, one of the very few places where they have a Robert Graham outlet, I do make it a point to stay like an extra day or make sure I can go shopping there somewhere. It's a big priority for me. I love his stuff. You can dress it up, dress it down, wear it different places. I love it. They're like works of art. So I will drop a few bucks while I'm there to get some shirts. So I was going to go to the outlet. So I picked a hotel that I had thought was somewhere in between, closer to the airport and closer to the outlet where, the premium outlets where the store was. But I realized the day before that I had made it for the wrong day, and I'd done it through Orbit, so it was like third party. So I called the hotel and I couldn't get it changed It had to be through the third party. I talked to Orbitz, and yeah, they could cancel it and rebook it, and then it was going to be like what was like a $70 room or something. I had a really good rate because I was redeeming some points on it. It was going to be like $230, and I was like, you know what, just cancel it. I mean, I know I lose those points and maybe get charged that $70 anyway, but whatever, just drop it. And because it was stressing me out at that time. The pageant was like getting ready to go on, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like, just cancel it. And I'll see if I can stay an extra night here, and I'll just deal with the Uber fares and everything. It'll be okay. So it worked out that I could do that, so that was okay. So I stayed an extra day at the hotel, and then I was gonna go have this lovely day of shopping at the premium outlet. The only thing I cared about was Robert Graham, but I would look around, have time, whatever. And I had to be careful not to buy too much. Shirts, they're not going to weigh that much because I'm on basic economy, so I have to like make sure it fits in that bag and it doesn't really go over 50 pounds. And I was kind of right. I was at 48 pounds. So I thought, if I get like a dozen shirts or something, that's still not going to put it over. That should be okay. So I took an Uber, and my error, put in the wrong outlet. I guess there's one on one end of the International Drive and one on the other, and I just didn't realize it. I was Googling and blah, 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 and I took it to the wrong outlet. I got there and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get out, and I'm thinking, this isn't right, I don't think, because I've been there before, and I'm looking at the little list of stores and stuff, and yeah, I'm in the wrong one, and I'm Googling it like, oh my God, it's the other one. So I waited for the shuttle because they have some $2 shuttle, but when I looked up the site and when the next one was coming, it said, we're sorry, we don't have information about when one is coming to that site. And I thought, well, I don't know. Is it like, because I had gotten kind of a late start. I'm like, is it 5 minutes? Is it like half an hour? Is it once an hour? I mean, when does it come? Like, I was getting really hungry, and I'm diabetic, and it's like, I need to eat. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna Uber it, you know. So I Ubered it because it's like, you know, $20 or whatever, and life goes on. So I'm like, let me just Uber it. So I went up to the correct one, had some Chinese food, which I'm so hungry for. Oh my God, because my cousin, great food in New Mexico, loved it. Oh my gosh, all this kind of cool New Mexico cuisine, really enjoyed it. And then my cousin's husband is from New Mexico, and he does cook a lot of food like that, and I love it, I enjoy it. But if you know me, you know, like, I'm a Chinese food fanatic, or Asian food. Like, I gotta have like Chinese, Thai, Vietnamese, something multiple times a week, or like, I just get really like, oh my gosh, I need Chinese food so bad. Like, I needed it so bad. So I don't care if it's like fast food and whatever, that's fine. So, and there was one at this mall. I'm like, oh my God, Chinese food, manna from heaven. Like, I loved it. And then I went to Robert Graham, and I bought a bunch of shirts, 9 shirts. Yeah, 9 shirts. And there was a discount on top of it because they're already very discounted, but there was a quantity discount. Like, if you bought 4, you got a certain percentage off, and I bought enough that everything I got was discounted further from what it originally was. So even though I still spent like almost $1,000 there, that's fine, because I knew I was going to do it, and I do that whenever I go there. And I'm like, these shirts, to me, they are worth it. I mean, you get them in regular retail, and they can be anywhere between $200 and $400. So, you know, when you get 9 for $1,000, that's less than 1,000. That's really good. And there are, I don't know if you're familiar with them. I love them so much, and I'm not going to show you all of them, just a couple here, but they're usually like super colorful. They feel so good. The material is lovely. It's artwork. I mean, there's like all over this thing, there's like stitching, like this is embroidery on many of them. And then the sleeves are always like, the cuffs are different. We'll have like a different pattern than this has, and then on the back it's all, anyway, you know, to me, I mean, to each his own. Everybody has their own opinion. I know some people hate these things. I think they're freaking work of art. It's wearable art. It's beautiful. So not only is this like looking like stained glass or whatever, but it's also like it's embroidered. There's embroidery on it, and it's embroidered around these different images, and so beautiful. And again, you have, this is like the sleeves, and you have something else on the, I love these shirts, love them. So I was really happy to kind of make that, even though it was a struggle to get there, just struggling, you know, but we're gonna do it. So went back to the hotel, where they have no food. It's kind of a weird thing. And yeah, things just like their restaurant's not open and things are closed. It's a weird thing, you know, right? So housekeeping, really weird. But I know they're struggling, right? Like when I was in the Tampa hotel, housekeeping was by request. You had to request it. And at one point we had 4 people staying in our room. So I was like, you have to every day just call and say like, we need towels for 4 people. That's the main thing. You know, like take out the trash and towels for it. I don't care if you make the bed. I mean, they do. I don't care, but we need towels. And then when I went to this hotel, the Grand Orlando Resort at Celebration, that's where we were staying. And I've been there before. The pageant's been held there before. And this time, you know, was a little bit different. You didn't have to request housekeeping. They just never came. No, I mean, I don't know. It was really weird. Like there were always housekeeping people around. No matter where I went, there were always somebody wheeling carts around. But then they would come to your door and like, it was really weird. Of course, I'm aware a lot of these people are not English speaking people, right? In these jobs, which is fine. But they kept trying to talk to you about something. Like they'd open the door and they'd say something that I didn't understand. And I would be like, come in, just come in. Like, I don't know what you're asking exactly, because they would keep trying to talk to me and I'd be like, I don't know, but I read like towels on the ground, like there's towels on the floor. You know, you can make the bed if you want to, I don't care, but like garbage. It was so weird, and it happened several times. And they would just do the weirdest freaking things. Like they would take the towels. Like one of the times I had no towels. They were all used, no towels, and the last towels on the floor. And she took the towels away and took out the garbage and left. And that was it. And I thought, okay, well, it must be another person. Maybe there's several people, you know, I don't know how it works, and somebody else will bring the towels. No, nobody brought any more towels, and nobody brought any more coffee. I had to call down for coffee 3 times during my stay because I'd used the coffee packets, and I desperately need coffee in the mornings. And we have like, you know, these 7 a.m., 6 a.m. judges, things like, dude, I have got to have coffee before I go down there. And I had to call like 3 times to get coffee brought up. And I'm like, not to be like, you know, I'm trying to be conscientious and not be all like white privileged, like biatch or whatever, but like, what is happening exactly? Like they're taking the trash and then they're not bringing any towels and they're not bringing any coffee, and they keep trying to talk to me and ask me things that like, and I don't and I keep going, I don't know, no habla español. I mean, I really don't that much, and I don't understand what you're asking. And I'd just always be like, open the door and just come in and do what you're going to do, you know? But it always seemed like they never finished anything. It's very weird. I had to call for towels a few times too. Like, I'm completely out. I don't even have a washcloth, nothing. And yeah, the maid has been in and has left. I don't understand. But I mean, I try not to be super biatchy about it, because I know, like in Hawaii too, it's a problem that it's a labor shortage, right? With the pandemic and people getting unemployment, et cetera, which they should. And, you know, I understand that there are a lot of these hotels and restaurants are having labor shortage because there are a lot of people that aren't going back because they're like, I'm not going to go back to work for a $10 an hour job. You know, when I can make more on an unemployment, and here where I'm working 2 or 3 jobs and not able to make it, why would I go back to that? And I don't blame them. I'm like, yeah, there's a problem here. We got a problem. You know, I don't think I would want to go back to a job that couldn't support me either. If I was getting the money from someplace else, I'd ride that gravy train as long as I could. I don't blame them, because it's a problem with pay scale, you know. Okay, so then I'm leaving, trying to leave, and okay, so my flight was at 8:30. I wanted to try and get to the airport early because I didn't know how long it was going to take to get there, and I didn't know if it might be busy, and I didn't know if what could happen, and I didn't know because we have in Hawaii, you have to have a clearance, health clearance, right now. So I have COVID vaccination, but you have to upload like pictures of it. You have to fill out this form that you have to go through for Hawaii so that you don't have to quarantine when you get here. It doesn't matter whether you live here or not. So I was a little bit nervous, like I couldn't quite tell if like, have I filled this all out right? Am I really set? I don't know. So I'm gonna go a little bit early in case I need to clear it with agents or something. So I got there early. Well, no, yeah. I tried to get there early. Trying to get a Uber in the morning, like 5 in the morning at the hotel. Can't get one. It's just not connecting to any driver. Like, not happening. Connected to one who then canceled it right away. And, I talked to the front desk. I said, are there taxis? Like, I haven't seen, I know there's no shuttles. The hotel used to do a shuttle. Nobody's doing their shuttles anymore, which they should, because it's like Hawaii. It's getting busy again. But again, I know it's a labor thing. So I try not to get angry about that. And I'm like, okay, well, are there taxis? Are there any taxi companies? Like, she gave me a couple numbers. I called a couple numbers to try and get a taxi. I knew that was going to be a fortune, but whatever. No, they can't. They're like, no, we don't have enough drivers. This morning time's kind of early, it's a peak time to go to the airport for us. And yeah, we don't have any drivers. If you called a day or two ago to arrange it in advance, maybe, but we can't do it now. I can't just call and get a taxi. And you're like, what the frig dooley this is fucking Disney World, Orlando Tourism Central. It's like, what? How? Literally, like, I'm stranded at this hotel, like miles away from the airport. Like, how am I going to get to the airport? I don't know. I'm going to go out and hitchhike or what? Finally, Uber was able to connect me with a driver who took about 20 minutes to get there. But by that time, I'm not early at all. I'm kind of like when I probably would be a normal schedule to be there. So I do get to the airport finally. And from there on, it was okay. Like, the airline was busy, airport's busy. I did have a problem when I went through Denver, so I avoided, Dallas. And in the flight out of Denver, everything's fine. And then I get to my seat and there's somebody sitting in it, 44K. And I'm like, I'm in that seat, I think, actually. And she's like, no, I'm in the seat too. And she pulls out her thing and she is. It's like 44K. I'm like, great. So, you know how the flights are really full right now, right? So, anyway, I talked to a flight attendant. He was very nice. It took a little while to get it straightened out, but they gave me a different assignment, which I was happy because it ended up being a window seat, which I like better anyway. So, because the 44K was in the middle. So that worked out fine, and I was actually able to sleep some. Got back to Hawaii, was able to get a shuttle, although I had to wait a while for it. They are starting to do shuttles again here, thank God, because it's way cheaper than taking a cab or whatever. My Uber, by the way, from the hotel in Orlando to the airport, my Uber was $74, by the way. Uber. What are you gonna do? So I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the shuttle. Had to wait about half an hour, 45 minutes for that because they're kind of busy too. But that's okay. And who comes around the corner but Scott Sayachek, who was Mr. Universal Hawaii, who in Tampa I had been with and helped with, and he works for United. And I don't know how he knew I was there or whatever, or if it just happened, but he came around the corner and was like, oh my God, and we talked for a while, and that was great, and that was cool. So we'll visit again. But anyway, so I'm back home, yeah, that's enough of a video. Geez, I've just been talking. That's kind of my trip. I have, now that I'm home, okay, so now that I'm home, what do I do today, right? It's morning time. And, well, just before I left, I learned two things I consider whether I should do or not. I don't know. One is that Friends of the Library book and record sale was supposed to have ended while I was gone, but they've extended through the rest of the summer because they've been doing so well. So they have the space and the old Pier 1 space, and they're just continuing their sale through the summer. So I'm like, this is wonderful and horrible news at the same time, because of course I want to go and look and buy more records, but oh my God, stop already, like stop. And the other thing is the Bath and Body Works semi-annual sale has started since I've been gone. Now it is in full swing and still going on, and I have not been to it. And I was looking at my stash today and I'm like, John, you really don't need to go. Like, you really don't need to go. I don't know whether I'm going to go or not. It's kind of hard to resist a semi-annual sale because that's when you get, especially when you shop the 78, which is usually what I do, shop the 75% off bins. It's a more limited supply of certain things, but that's the price that you can't beat, 75% off. So, you know, I may have to wander down and just look and see. I don't know. Friends of the Library sale. The thing is, okay, so my experience on this trip, being gone for a month, staying in hotels. I have this experience when I come back from cruise ships too, a long cruise. But, you know, being away for a month, being in lovely hotel rooms that are clutter-free, you know, and then staying at my cousin's she's a former real estate person, and her house always looks like it's being staged. It always looks that way. So you come, you know, into just a beautiful home that has just the necessary elements, you know, and it's very uncluttered and open and lovely feel. And I knew this would happen. Like, I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna go bleh when I look at my apartment, because there's just like, I'm very Victorian in that way and very tiki lounge. Like they just, both of those concepts kind of fill up a space. So my space is very filled up, and the records and stuff, I'm kind of okay today, but yesterday when I came home and was looking around, it was like, this is depressing. Too much stuff. I'm gonna Marie Kondo everything. I'm gonna like declutter massively. I'm still thinking I might declutter some things. I'm thinking CDs. I might purge a lot. I can sell, I don't know. I have lots and lots and lots of CDs that I don't really need them. Records I'm not purging, but whatever. I mean, we'll see what happens. So right now, that's kind of where I kind of don't want to go record shopping. I went the entire month without going to a single thrift store, which is unusual. And they were kind of thinking when I was going to be in New Mexico that I would go, because there's a lot of thrift stores there. And I just told them, I mean, they knew the situations with the records I had been buying easy listening lately, and how I just like have too many now. Like, I don't want to get more. I need to start, you know, recording and getting them out. And they were like, wow, really? Because there's lots of thrift stores here. And I'm going, oh God. I didn't go. And I was kind of okay with it, you know. I'm like, you know, I'm good. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Maybe I'm going to go through a decluttering of some kind. I don't know. But anyway, I'm glad to be back. This is where I am, and definitely not going to do Q&A. This video is way long enough. So happy to be back home. Hello, everybody. I'll be making videos. I'll be back on schedule soon. Next video probably will either be a what do you call it? Cheap lounge, because I was ready to do a cheap lounge video before I left, and then I just didn't have time to do it. So actually I got that material ready to go. So I'll probably do that, or a candle schedule video next. That's probably one of those two will be what's up next within the next few days. So we'll talk to you later. I have been watching videos while I've been gone, but I haven't made any. So we'll talk to you later.